All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emilio Lorenzo. I am the Associate Director of Employer Relations for Nova Southeastern University. And I'm here today to be able to talk to you about a very important topic, which is job and internship searching for environmental science. So I'm going to be talking about a lot of different resources, approaches, and we're going to talk also a little bit on careers in environmental science. So just a little overview. I'm going to start off talking a little bit about industry trends. Obviously, COVID-19 has affected some things in the industry, so we're going to be talking a little bit about that. I'm going to talk about where do you begin with your job and internship search, how to get yourself organized, how to self-assess, talk about resources available to you to find job and internship opportunities, then talking about best practices in that search. We are also going to be talking about networking, staying engaged through informational interview, professional organizations, how to strategically outreach to faculty, whether right now or during the year, and how do you stay engaged during virtual events, which is a common practice of what's going on. So I think a big question that has come up during this time is, are employers hiring during this time? And, especially with COVID-19, that could be a little bit scary, but the answer is yes. Employers are hiring. Now, obviously, some industries have been affected more than others, but in environmental science, and you could look, there's a lot of environmental science positions out there, opportunities out there. Now, some in certain settings aren't as frequent because, for example, a lot of our national parks, a lot of our zoos, some normal settings that environmental scientists go into right now are unavailable. However, as you probably noticed, things are opening up more and some of these opportunities are coming up. But even without those being open, there are a lot of hiring opportunities. It's just knowing the resources to identify which those are. So we're going to talk about that. But hiring recruitment during COVID-19 is still existing, whether it's internships that employers are looking for in the fall, within the summer. The thing about the summer internships, especially with so many unknowns, a lot of companies are deciding, do we cancel our internship? Do we move our internship remotely? Or do we play a wait and see game? And that's why there's not just one answer to the question of, how is COVID-19 affecting? Because for each industry and each employer, it has varied. And so that's where you got to take a detailed approach to see what's available in the area you're looking for. Obviously, if you're open to not just staying in where you are, but looking at other cities and locations, that does open up options. And there are a lot of research opportunities that are remote. There are some opportunities that, depending on the onboarding and training involved, may not have that plausibility of going online. So there are a lot of things that have affected the industry with COVID-19, but environmental science hasn't been the hardest hit. It's definitely been the hospitality, the cruise industries, the tourism industries, also things in restaurants and those service industries that have been the hardest hit. The ones that have been more lucrative because of what this time is obviously healthcare industries, public health opportunities, but environmental science has fallen somewhere in the middle where there's still a bunch of opportunities. It's just identifying which are the ones that are providing remote or which ones are looking for immediate hire or ones that are trying to gather candidates right now and looking to hire whether it's down the road or in the fall semester. COVID-19 has also affected how employers are engaging. So employers definitely have a different outlook of when things are going to get back to normal. But for right now, they're doing a lot more virtual events. So employer information session, really increasing the amount of virtual interviews that they're doing. So that in-person component has really gone out the window. And that was a trend we were seeing even before COVID-19 is the increase of virtual engagement in terms of interviews with employers. You're also seeing a lot more virtual career fairs. An employer we work with pretty often, Triumvirate Environment, they actually held a career fair recently and they have another one coming up in May. So being aware of some of these virtual events, virtual career fairs, and we're going to give you some tips on how to navigate those settings as well. COVID-19 has also brought about an increase on remote projects, micro internships, where a typical internship is 8 to 12 weeks or semester long. Some of these remote projects might be a week long, might be 40 hours, very short-term project commitments. And I'm going to talk about some resources that can assist you with that. Again, guys, I'm going to be talking about a lot of different things and bouncing around topics. So please, throughout this entire presentation, if you have a question, please send it in the chat box. I'd be happy to pivot and hit on some of those points that I might be missing. So where do you begin? You know, a lot of people with an internship search think, well, the first thing I do is start applying. But in reality, that's not maybe the most strategic way of going about it. You need to take some time on asking yourself some specific questions. You need to do some benchmarking. Based on the internships you're looking for, whether it's GIS, animal care, environmental science, or in environmental settings, business settings, environments, you should be thinking about what are the skills, knowledge, and abilities I need in those jobs. And if you're not sure, reading job descriptions or going to LinkedIn pages of individuals that hold those roles will help you benchmark what are the things that I need to get my foot in the door so that you can be realistic on the types of opportunities you should be applying for with where your resume and your experiences currently stand. So asking about your interest areas, what are you passionate about? What are the skills you need in those areas? What are your short-term and long-term goals? Again, you should think about not just what the internship I have in front of me, but where do you see yourself down the road in this industry? Are there internships that can work as lily pad opportunities that set you up for that bigger experiences? You know, I also think that not just looking at internships, I'm going to be talking about down the road, looking at volunteer work. For example, working at Zoo Miami, that internship may already be asking for experience working with animals, working in the environment, where they're volunteers. They're not asking for those experiences. They'll give you that initial exposure working with animals. And so if that's a passion area for you, you should almost start the volunteer route to build yourself up for those internships, which will then set you up for a full-time role. So really identifying some of those short and long-term goals. Identifying how urgent is the job search or internship search. Creating a timeline, especially for internship search, you can't start early enough. Set up your network, which I'm going to talk about. Identify the companies in the areas you're looking for. Build relationships. Build yourself up to be ready for them. Imagine your ideal job. Throughout this presentation, I'm going to be talking about the various job options or career options available to you as an environmental science student. After the presentation, you're going to get the PowerPoint. All of my career options are hyperlinked to a full breakdown of those careers so that, again, you could start identifying the skills, knowledge you need there, and also start asking yourself, what are the settings that I want to be in? You know, working in a laboratory is much different than working for a national park or a business setting or a private organization versus a nonprofit or a consulting agency. There's so many settings that you can go into with this degree. You really need to start thinking about which I'm going to be most successful in. And again, internships is a good way of test driving those, and same thing for volunteer work. Knowing your non-negotiables, guys, anywhere in life, job, your career, academics, trade-offs are going to happen. You need to identify what are the trade-offs I'm willing to make in my career. For example, some people in the field, to gain more lucrative opportunities, are willing to travel in areas that some people aren't comfortable with, going to Alaska, going to different areas, and building up experiences so then they can dictate where they're going next. But you need to ask yourself, what are the trade-offs you have? You might be like, I'm not willing to leave location, or I want to work in these type of settings. But really try to identify those so that you can articulate that in interviews and you can be more strategic in your search as a whole. Some other things on self-assessment is organizing your job search and internship search. Create a checklist of what are things that you need, your non-negotiables. Creating job alerts on some of the resources I'm going to be showing you. Creating a word bank, like keyword bank when you job search. If you're going into these job search resources and the only thing you're typing in is environmental science, that's not a strategic job search. You're limiting the amount of opportunities that be coming your way because you need to use other keywords, not just environmental science. identifying certifications, trainings, hard and soft skills that you can be building up to make yourself eligible for some of these competitive internships. Defining your goals through self-reflection, self-assessments. In our own office, we have assessments you can consider focused to career, working with our advisors to help you identify some of those different kind of approaches, knowing more about your personality, your skills, and your own values. And again, it's about knowing your resources. And today I'm going to be providing a full breakdown of not just NSU related resources, but external resources you should consider. So building up your presence, I think LinkedIn is one of the most valuable tools you should have in your tool belt. If you don't have a LinkedIn, you're really limiting yourself. LinkedIn is a great avenue to job search, to network, to build your skills, and to network. And so you really need to find and develop your LinkedIn. If you don't have a LinkedIn, I would recommend making an appointment with one of our career advisors because it's going to be very important. It's almost on your online portfolio and your online networking. So LinkedIn also has different platforms that do skill development. It's a great tool to also see people in your network or out of your network that are in careers that you could see yourself in. Guess what, guys? If you look up 5 environmental scientists in your field or people working in areas in environmental science you can see yourself in, by looking at their LinkedIn profile, it's almost telling you a story, things that they did, experiences they've had. It's giving you almost a career track for yourself on how do you get your foot in the door. But another great way to search for jobs, search for internships. Again, outside of Handshake, which I'm going to be talking about, LinkedIn should be another one of your primary resources. NSU Connect. So this is our alumni, connection platform. This is where you could find alumni that want to mentor, that want to provide opportunities. They also post job and internships. And it's a good way to connect with other individuals that are in positions that you could see yourself, but they're also sharks. So it's another way of being able to break the ice with these individuals. Some career development resources. So our NSU Career Development Office, again, is one of your main resources. We have career advisors on hand that can help you with your resume, your cover letter. And I can't tell you how important it is to tweak your resume based on the job. If right now you don't have any experiences or minimal experiences, you should be leveraging your project work on your resume. If you've gone through, you're a junior and senior, and you haven't listed one project on your resume, you're cutting yourself short. And I know you're probably thinking, well, I didn't get paid for those projects. They were academic. Guess what? Those hiring managers love seeing those project work. They don't care if you didn't get paid for it. What they care about is, do you have the skills, knowledge, and experience to assist the job you're doing now? And those project-based work may have taught you or applied skills that can be a very valuable selling point in that. So think about that. Also, our career development office can help you with interview preparation, creating a strategic game plan for your job and internship approach, and also going over strategies, which I'm going to be talking about today. But when working with an advisor, it's a very individualized and catered plan based on your interest and skills. Now, I work on the employer relations team. So me and my team, as you apply to job and internships, I can actually send your resume directly to hiring managers. I'll put a referral on your behalf. Work almost as your virtual cover letter in these outreaches to mention things that make you a great fit for that opportunities. So again, our advisors help you prepare, apply, create a game plan, build yourself up, where our employer relations team can then take those applications and send it off to the hiring managers or the HR contacts. So again, we're here to help you and put your best foot forward in this job and internship search. We also have industry resume books. So as employers are looking for great candidates, by putting your name in the resume book or your resume in that, it allows us to share that with employers who are actively seeking. Now that shouldn't be like, I'm just gonna put my resume in the resume book and not apply individually. You should be doing a combination of both, but the resume book just provides additional exposure. I've already talked about leveraging project work in your resume. And I think it's really important to review job descriptions strategically. When you look at a job description, don't just apply by reading the title. Read the skills, the knowledge, the abilities. the level of experience they want. You should constantly put yourself in the roles of the hiring manager and ask yourself, well, based on what I'm reading here, what would I look for if I was hiring this position? And then give yourself about a minute to read your resume. Those same things that you said you'd be looking for, how are you highlighting it on your resume? And if you're not, the question would be, would you have hired yourself for the opportunity? So some good strategies to keep in mind. All right, now let's talk about some job and internship resources. So career development gets you prepared, gives you a game plan, but we also manage our career platform known as Handshake. So this is our number one, this should be your first step in looking for an internship. Handshake has employers, events, career fairs, resources. It's your one-stop shop for your career needs. These are all, if you see an employer in there, it's someone that we can leverage on your behalf. It's also not just a local job and internship search, but a national database. So again, this is going to be a great way for you to identify opportunities everywhere. And as I start talking about events, you're going to see whether it's an event we're hosting as a career development office or an employer's hosting, all of it is being housed on Handshake. Now, my ER team, our career development team does is bi-weekly, we put together all of the best jobs and internships from Handshake, and we put it together in a newsletter known as our Mako Career Opportunities newsletter. So when you receive those emails, I would bookmark it, save it, review those. And again, our office can send your resume directly to these hiring managers if it's of interest. Sharks Uncaged is our additional newsletter. And this is our newsletter for opportunities outside of Florida. So in the Northeast, the Midwest, the West Coast, really putting together amazing opportunities that are available, like internships at Yellowstone or national parks or other things like that. I did want to mention two databases which are really important for environmental science. One of them is ecojobs.com. It has environmental career opportunities, lists a lot of opportunities around the world, and it ranges in different sub-disciplines within environmental science. So not just the research, the laboratory, national parks, nonprofits, policy, science, consulting, you name it. And then Pathways to Science, another great resource. And same thing for EcoJobs, anywhere from research to jobs to internships, all across the field. So all of these are just some examples of some great resources. I've already mentioned LinkedIn, and I have a few other sites to go for, but I wanted to mention these because they should be your first line of defense when evaluating how to go about it. Now, I am going to start talking about some additional resources. And these aren't housed by us, but these are national resources, amazing internship opportunities. Now, some of these might not be located in South Florida. So the ideal time to do some of these are in the summer. But I wanted to mention that because some of them are very competitive. And many of them, the applications close up early in the year. So some of these get opened in the summer and they're already hiring for next summer or for other parts of the year. And they also have a lot of jobs. So when you get the PowerPoint, if you click on any of these links, it'll take you directly to those landing pages. But National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, National Parks, National Science Foundation, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Guys, these are all great, great organizations. Some of them do have a local focus, but I wanted to give you everything so that you can make a game plan with your advisor and you yourself making a hit list of companies I could see myself. Do some reading, do some window shopping, create a hit list for yourself on what are my top 10 to 20 organizations or internships I'm interested in. Some other areas, there's a bunch of nonprofit internships in environmental science. So Florida Ocean Alliance, right in our backyard. We've had students kind of work there. Here are some national ones: Environmental Defense Fund, American Geophysical Union, the Sierra Club, Worldwide Fund. But I would recommend also doing a deeper dive into local nonprofit organizations just outside of Florida Ocean Alliance. Some local employers. So these are even some, and there's a larger list of this, guys. I just wanted to provide you a few on this slide. But my ER team, we work with each of these employers and more. Career fairs, informational sessions, virtual events, you name it, promoting their opportunities. We have the Marine Environmental Education Center at the Carpenter House, Zoo Miami, Zoological Wildlife Foundation. I mentioned Triumvirate Environmental, and they have a career fair coming up, which I'll talk about. South Florida Wildlife Center, South Florida Water Management District, Gumbo Limbo, Lion Country Safari, Everglades ACOM. Guys, there's a lot, and they all have internship opportunities. It's about creating a strategic game plan for them, looking when they have it posted. But again, all of these, and some of them have active openings right now on Handshake or other sites. Some private companies, these are some national opportunities. These are more on the job side, but they also have internship opportunities. Tesla Motors, U.S. Corporation, Advanced Energy Industries. And if you click on the link, it'll take you directly to their internship and job landing page. Now, that was a lot of links, but I wanted to provide you some additional ones. Career Builder, I've talked about LinkedIn, The Muse, Indeed. Now, they're not the first choice, but they definitely are some great sites, and you want to make sure you use all of your resources. There's not just one road to finding a great opportunity, so you want to know that these are all different sites that you have in your tool belt to identify what's available in my field that really piques my interest. Now, at the beginning of the presentation, I talked about micro internships, remote projects, short-term commitment projects. A great site for that is Parker Dewey. So it's a career launcher that provides really an avenue for employers to post some of their short-term project-based work, short-term research. All of them are paid opportunities, remote opportunities, and it's free to join. So guys, a great site for you to identify opportunities that could be a good fit or may have environmental job and internships. Another great site for this is there's an anonymous job search known as GoGig. So another way for you to actively look for jobs, internships. It's more of a job platform, but it does have some great opportunities for you to be able to connect with employers in your industry. So you can see the link right there on how to sign up. Another free sign up for you to get connected with employers. Some work environments for environmental science: government, research, zoos, national parks, business consulting, teaching, conservation sites, renewable energy, nonprofits or businesses, education. So guys, there's a lot of work environments for you as you do internships or you start exploring, really thinking which is most conducive to your success. Now, I know we're talking a lot about job and internships, but these next 3 slides, and all of these are clickable links, this really has a lot of, and this wasn't all of them. I just put a good portion of them together. All of your career options with an environmental science degree. So it's a lot to look at, and I won't dive into each one, but I wanted to give you a good look at, there really are so many things you could do with this degree, and each one of these involve different skill sets, experiences. You really should be taking some time, especially with COVID-19 now, reading about all these different careers, which one's the best fit for you, and then creating a game plan through internships, jobs, and career advising on how you're going to be able to reach some of these goals. Some additional tips with this job and internship search is create a list of a local list or a hit list of local employers, nonprofits, research sites. Guys, there isn't a lack of opportunities, whether it's through us or you doing a search on your own, of opportunities that could be of interest to you. Evaluate volunteer opportunities that can help you develop the skills needed for job and internships. Guys, you can't be stubborn. If you see, I want to work in this career, but the only thing you're seeing is volunteer opportunities, guess what? sometimes these sites, and I've already mentioned Zoo Miami as an example, their volunteer position is almost like an internship. It's only just, it's unpaid. And I know you're thinking, well, that sucks and it's not getting paid. Ideally, everything would be paid. But again, it goes back to your trade-offs. You might trade off not getting paid a month or two as a volunteer, but then guess what? That trade-off pays off because then you get offered that internship. You get offered a job. You've built a meaningful relationship and you got your foot in the door with a company and in the industry as a whole. So really take a look at some of those volunteer work. And then target your resume towards specific opportunities available. Don't just think one resume is good for everything. It's not. Employers only look at a resume for about 10 to 15 seconds. In that time, you need to be able to show them, hey, I'm a strong enough candidate to bring for an interview. So really focusing in on that language, those skills, all those things that are being mentioned in that job description. So guys, before I jump into networking, is there any questions thus far? This presentation has a lot of material and information. I just want to make sure things are going well. You guys are taking it down, but making sure there's nothing that you wanted me to dive a little deeper into or ask questions about. All right, great. So let's talk a little bit about networking. You know, almost 80% of the jobs that we found before COVID-19 were through some form of networking, career fairs, informational interviews, onwards. And we have a question. For students who are looking for internships in the fall, do you have any tips for reaching out in advance? Yeah, I mean, first applying to the ones that are available. But for reaching out, I think that if you see a company you're interested in, and right now they don't have an internship listed, reach out to them. Don't mention internship in that initial outreach to them, but say, hey, I'm very passionate about environmental science. Or, for example, if you're applying to a company or looking at a company that's in animal care, be like, I'm very passionate about animals, including X, Y, and Z. You know, I'm reaching out because I would love to learn more about your company and just be able to pick your brain. I feel the best way in getting in my career is to be speaking with individuals with a lot of experience. And in that outreach or that Zoom meeting or that phone meeting you set up, ask a lot of questions on the skills they're looking for, their abilities they're looking for. Building a relationship where, one, you're getting more knowledge about the industry, but B, you're building a natural relationship. But if you're looking at the fall, you should be looking right now, starting to apply this summer, starting to create a game plan now, making a hit list of employers, sending emails to employers you're seeing on LinkedIn, really building your network, and in addition, applying strategically to opportunities because employers are gathering applications for the fall as well. Madeline, does that answer your question? Perfect. Now, networking is a great way. I just mentioned an example of networking, which is reach out to a company, even if they don't have a job on the line, build your network up. I can't tell you how many students have found opportunities at great organizations like Tampa Zoo or other businesses, other organizations, because before there was a job on the line, before that student was actively job or internship searching, they just wanted to gather information. If you want to be an environmental scientist, why not talk to people working in that industry right now without that agenda of, man, I'm only going to reach out to this person because they have a job or internship I want. Why not do it because you have a zest and passion for that knowledge base? That's going to go a long way to building a natural relationship with someone. So networking is great. It can help you build meaningful connections that are mutually beneficial. It's not just about finding a job, as I mentioned, it's about gaining information, connecting with people in your field, connecting with ways of understanding that industry, staying up to date on knowledge in that industry, building trust. Because guess what? If I reach out to a hiring manager for a company that I could see myself working in one day, but I didn't reach out to them just because I wanted a job or internship. I reached out to them because I'm passionate. Guess what? After that meeting with them, I built a relationship with them. Afterwards, I connected with them on LinkedIn. That person has already made assumptions about me. Like, wow, this person's really passionate, or they're very organized, or I could see based on our conversation that they have skills that I could see in. So if a job or internship does open up, you're no longer just another number in that application. You're now the individual, because that person and hiring manager knows you on a deeper level. So networking has a lot of benefits, and it can be done online, including social media. Reach out to people, especially during COVID-19 now. A lot of people are all day in front of their computer. They're reading their emails more often. They're more willing to engage in other avenues. So really keep these things in mind. And you're probably wondering, well, where can I network? And there's a lot of avenues for that. LinkedIn is a primary one. And I always say, when you go in LinkedIn, start outreaching to people that are alumni from NSU, which you could put a filter for that. It allows you to make natural relationships. I have a slide later down the road of professional organizations in environmental science. Those are important, because those, you're already connected with people in that group. They already provide avenues for networking, group hangout groups, knowledge groups, and they also have individuals in these professional organizations who sometimes promote job internships, or they share articles or industry trends that could be valuable to you. Social media groups, LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups, professional groups that really have hangout or networking settings. And then finally, Handshake. There's a lot of events on Handshake, networking opportunities, especially right now. There's about 3 pages of events and networking opportunities for you to get in front of employers. So here are just some professional organizations that you should think about. National Association of Environmental Professionals, American Solar Energy Society, Association of Fish and Wildlife Agency, Ecological Association of America. Guys, there's so many out there. This could really depend on your interest area. And so, yeah, that's a great, suggestion of a Facebook page to be able to look at. So know your network. And guys, never think that you have all the information. Leverage your faculty, leverage your network. Do some research on your own of what are organizations out there. I did find one list that provides a full list of multiple opportunities of professional organizations, but there really is so many out there. Some may have student fees for you to join. Some of them have their own job board that you can look at opportunities. So again, it's a benefit all around. Networking, putting yourself out there, identifying opportunities, getting tips on your industry. So really, really beneficial to kind of join these organizations. I talked a lot when I answered that question about informational interviews, but I think that's really important. You know, before I joined the career development field, I actually did informational interviews with my current boss. So it was like over 8 years ago when I thought, man, maybe I can get into higher education career development. It was actually about 10 years ago. I did informational interviews with people that were in fields I can see myself in. Because guess what? I learned a lot about what road they took to get to those career goals. I also learned how they got their foot in the door. What were those internship tips? What were some of those initial experiences? What are the most valuable skills they had, and how did they develop it? I also formed strong relation with that person because they could see the passion that I had, because I wasn't talking about jobs or internships. I was really just using this as a platform to get to know them and get to know the industry. Now, at the end of these opportunities, I always said, well, if there's any opportunities that ever open up in your organization, would it be okay if I add you in LinkedIn or send you my resume? So it wasn't my main agenda, but I did open those doors up by doing informational interviews. Especially now, guys, if you're not doing anything, build yourself up, build up your network, identify individuals in your field or in roles you see yourself in, and do these informational interviews. You can gain great advice. It could lead to referrals. It could develop stronger relationships for the future or for now. And again, it helps you really evaluate your career options and the roads to reach those goals. Outreach to faculty, because, you know, I think this is very important, and especially when things get back to normal, and we're having that in-person component, faculty are so valuable to you. First, they have experience in the field. They're knowledgeable about the industry. Also, many of them have research opportunities available, but faculty don't typically like to just post a research opportunity and you apply. They want you to be proactive in your engagement. So start early and do informational interviews with these faculty members. Oh, perfect. So Dr. Balov is making some great points for the National Association of Environmental Professionals, reasonable student rates, lunch meetings, and people exchanging resumes. Again, great benefits of joining those professional organizations. And take advantage of these student rates before you graduate. The professional rates are much higher for professional organizations. But going back to outreach to faculty, make sure it's a strategic email. Let's say you're trying to inquire about research. You can't be as straightforward as, you know, hello, professor, I'm reaching out to you because I want a research opportunity. What do you have available? That's not professional. You want to reach out to them. Make sure you're mentioning the right salutations like doctor and spelling the right name. Mention who you are. You know, my name is Emilio Lorenzo. I'm a second-year environmental science student. I'm reaching out to you because I'm very passionate about X, Y, and Z. And I thought, what better way to learn about the field than to speaking with my faculty and learning more about the industry. I know you're very busy. You always want to be, oh, Dr. Balov, yeah, please, if you want to unmute yourself and chime in on this.
Hi, Emilio, go ahead. When you reach a pause there, I just wanted to say something about this faculty guided research opportunities.
Perfect, yes. Email etiquette is so important. You know, make sure your grammar, your spelling, if this is the first interaction you have with a faculty, the last thing that you want to see, when, especially if you want to inquire about research, is that you're not attentive to detail. So make sure you're professional, make sure you're courteous, and really you're trying to set up a meeting, a get to know you, and learn more, and mention like, look, I wanted to pick your brain about research opportunities and the industry as a whole. And if you've had class with them, remind them who you are, that you've had class, that you're passionate, how much you've enjoyed past interactions. Sometimes the best way of setting things up like this is going to professors' office hours and having a deeper conversation. Showing your passion. If that professor has already done research, reading about their research or reading articles that they've published couldn't hurt in terms of those interactions. And proofreading that email, again, showing that attention to detail and that you're being strategic in that outreach. Dr. Balov, I'll hand it off to you to see if you have some other guidance or mentioning maybe things that I've said that I was either off on or in line with what you're thinking.
No, everything you've said is great, Emilio. I just wanted to chime in. A research experience, a faculty-guided research experience can be really, really helpful to you later in your academic career, especially if you want to go on and do master's level work, or you think maybe you could see yourself as a professor, you know, with a PhD somewhere down the road. You want to get this research experience early in your career. You know, you want to get involved in doing something in the field or the laboratory with a professor. You want to, if possible, make presentations. You want to get your name on abstracts or on papers. These are all things that show you know, master's programs and PhD programs that you're serious. There are, you know, the faculty for environmental science is small. You know, it's me, it's Dr. Hoke, it's a number of adjunct faculties like Eric Householder, Rick Householder, Stacy Myers. These are the main people that are the core faculty for environmental science. But because environmental science is interdisciplinary, you could go to almost any professor in the natural sciences and try to get involved in their research. It could be chemistry, it could be physics, it could be marine biology, it could be biology, and you could just tell them, I'd like to do some sort of research experience with you that has an environmental spin to it. And so don't, don't narrow your focus to just me and Hoke and Householder and Myers. Think about, could you find something to do with Josh Feingold or Amy Hirons or Paul Arena? Maybe you want to talk with somebody, in physics, Victor Castro or someone, and see if there's something that they're doing that, again, you could say, well, and I want it to have some sort of environmental element to it. Most faculty are flattered to have a student come and volunteer to help. It helps us with our research, and it keeps us relevant, and also usually the department provides a little bit of money to help with the research effort. So it's not like the faculty are getting nothing out of it or feel bothered when you come in. They do get things that help them, and they're encouraged to participate with students. So yes, you should be very respectful, and yes, you should do a little bit of research in advance, but you should not be worried that you're disturbing faculty or that they're going to brush you off. They are limited, though, to 3 students per semester. Any more than that, and we wouldn't be able to really give you the attention you need. So they may tell you, well, I've already got like as many students as I can handle. But think about it, get in there and let them know that you want to do something, and see what they have available. Make sure it's something that you're interested in, because it could end up being a significant commitment in time, but it can really be a big deal when you're either moving on in the academy or even in a job search. I think Emilio mentioned that these projects, even if they're volunteer, they might be the most relevant professional experience that you have on your resume, and you want to push them towards the top. I mean, if the thing that's at the top of your resume in job experience has nothing to do with science, then you definitely want to elevate any experience that you have, internship or faculty guided independent research projects. Those things should be at the top, because they're going to separate you from other candidates. Well, that's all I had, unless somebody had a question for me.
No, that's perfect. And then we got a question. Hello, for those of us looking for jobs abroad, how do you recommend going about it? Is the process of applying internationally different? I'm going to hit upon that about if you're looking for internships abroad in 1 second. I wanted to wrap up what Abaldov mentioned, because some really good tips. And I think something to mention also is, if you're trying to get your first foot in the door in research, gain research experience in any capacity, because some of the skills, although the knowledge base is different, it might set you up for more advanced research in terms of the skills you're doing in the laboratory or on the field. So kind of combination of both of our tips of how to go about it. But a lot of these things are kind of best practices when getting your foot in the door of meeting with faculty or evaluating all of your options. And then Camila, for your question about process of applying to international internships. So we have our International Affairs Office, and they provide a lot of internships and opportunities abroad that they vetted and we've worked with, especially with COVID-19. We've been working hand in hand with the office to make sure that if you are going abroad, it's a safe opportunity and it's right for you. For jobs abroad, we try to provide all the resources we can, but again, we don't have, International Affairs has more connections for some of those abroad companies, because we really work with companies within the US or those that might have a presence here in the US, but also a presence abroad. But a lot of the same things, targeting your resume, creating a game plan, staying organized, and applying strategically, those things still apply. It's just you may need to evaluate some other resource or use some of the resources I mentioned here, but really identifying other companies. And so a lot of the part of the process will remain the same. Some might be different, depending if you are trying to get a visa from that country, or there's a lot of things that come into play with working internationally if you're not from that home country, or you're doing to do a short experience or a longer experience. So there's not one answer to that. But if you work with one of our advising team or reach out to myself or someone on my team, we might be able to navigate that process together. So let's keep on going through the presentation here. Staying engaged. So this is going to be very important, especially with COVID-19, and whether you had an internship, you had a job, or right now you're just, maybe not working on a whole lot of things other than wrapping up the semester. How do you stay engaged? So there's a lot of options for this. First is going to go right back to Handshake, and I know I've mentioned this before. It's just Handshake. We house almost all of our events there, majority of the things that we see out there. I do recommend evaluating employer engagement sessions. So there's virtual information session, virtual career fair. So on May 12th, Triumvirate Environmental, they're hosting another career fair. It's listed on Handshake, all of the details. Industry trend chats, a lot of organizations talking about how the industry is changing. Also, by being a part of those professional organizations, and I know that some things are even mentioned on the chat box of where you can go on Facebook and other groups. They're having these type of discussions. They're having these type of meetups, virtual tours on some of these organizations, or heads up on when some of these even national parks or research settings might be opening up, virtual hangouts. And again, all of this is being housed on Handshake. It's your one-stop shop platform. Take the time to go through on what's being promoted and what's out there. I wanted to talk a little bit about career fairs. So just in case you are thinking about attending one of these career fairs, here's some heads up best practices. Learn about the companies before you go. So if you sign up for these virtual career fairs, usually as it gets closer, they're listing all the employers that they have there. Sometimes these employers are talking about specifically what they're recruiting for. The platform for the career fair also lets you upload your resume beforehand, so you can already have that information promoted. Preparing for online chats and video discussions. So virtual career fairs come in different forms. One of which is you go in there and it's going to be like an AIM or just a chat room where you're talking to that employer. If you're not a quick typer, you may want to have some of those introductions or some of those phrases that you are going to say already pre-typed so that you can copy and paste it into the chat box. Be prepared that it's going to turn into a video discussion. Some career fairs, you might be in a chat room, you make a good impression, and that employer's like, hey, I'm going to switch this to a virtual component. I'd look to switch to a more interview type setup. And guess what? You need to be dressed professionally because it's going to be an interview. So no matter what format it is, you need to treat it like it's a real career fair and you're coming dressed professionally. You have your resume on hand on your computer, just in case you have to share screens with that employer. Check your technology. You don't want to be disconnected or have trouble connecting with that employer because your technology is not working. So you want to check that beforehand. Have questions prepared. This is where doing your research can be very important because you'll know who are the companies that are going to be in representation, and putting yourself out there to build a connection and knowing based on what you read about the company, having some valuable questions for them. And make sure your work environment is professional, your background, everything that they can see on that computer screen has a professional kind of feel to it. Preparing for virtual interviews. So very similar to preparing for in-person interviews. Prepare knowing which company you're meeting with, knowing the job description, knowing your skills, understanding of how to bring your resume to life. So giving examples are key, like storytelling, being able to go from theory to practice on questions that you're given. Your body language, listening to the question, sharing examples, building rapport with the interviewers. Some examples of type of questions of, tell me about your positive qualities and your shortcomings. You know, with any of these type of questions, storytelling is important. Don't just say the strength, back it up with an example. So if they say, tell me about your critical thinking skills, don't just give me the theory of, oh, I'm very quick on my feet or I think through situations. That's great. Now follow it up with the time that you did that. And if that example could also be in an environmental science setting, best of both worlds. But for all of these questions, behavioral, situational skills, the best way of approaching that is storytelling examples, helping that person understand that you know that this is not just a theoretical, I actually have these skills. Anyone can go into an interview saying, an interview setting and say, hey, I'm a good team player. I'm passionate about environmental science. I stay up to date on the field. I do X, Y, and Z. Back it up with examples. Back it up with direct times where those skills, those knowledge, those situational things, you were put in those same things. So it's a good way of being able to articulate and sell yourself. And then at the end of the interview, sell your job fit, have questions prepared, and end on a strong note. Gather the information you need so that you could send strategic thank you letters and thank you emails afterwards. And finally, guys, we went over a lot of different topics today for the internship, the job search, reaching out to faculty, your resources. But career development is here to help you. So even with COVID-19, all of our appointments can be done virtually, one-on-one. We have our ER team that can be able to advocate for you to these hiring managers. You could schedule an appointment by going to Handshake or calling our front desk. You can see our number right there, and we're available to you. And you see we have a QR code right there. If possible, if you could take a picture of it while we're on this Zoom call, it'll take you to a survey, which will help you give us some feedback on this type of presentation. But we hope that you gained a lot from it. I really try to cater it specifically towards environmental science students and meeting the goals that you have. But again, we could have deeper conversations or more caterized conversations as you come into the office and work with our team. But at this time, I did want to open it up to questions from everyone in the call today. I know we went over some things, but was there something that maybe I can highlight or talk about in the time that we have? So I see I have one here. So Madeline, if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, that would be great.
Sure. I actually just had something that I wanted to mention quick. So I wanted to thank you for putting this together. I hope everyone was able to learn as much as I know I did. I'll be sending out the presentation later via email and posting it in the Facebook group that Dr. Boloff mentioned. So I know some people did reach out to me that they weren't able to attend due to finals or whatnot, but they still wanted that information. Also, if you signed up through Epsilon Ada's page on Instagram or what have you, make sure to check spam to see if it went there, if it isn't in your, because it's not an NSU email. And then otherwise, if you're a member of Epsilon Ada, I'll send everything to everyone as well. But thank you again, Emilio.
Oh, no, please. It was a pleasure. And anytime we could do more of these things, I'm happy to do it. Even if we want to talk about one specific area of environmental science, just knowing your resources. And this session was recorded. So after I get it uploaded, it will be on our YouTube page, NSU Career.
Emilio, could I say something before we wrap it up?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, this is Dr. Boloff again. I just want to let you guys know that we really do care about seeing you guys get jobs when you're done. That's been a big focus of the program ever since I've been involved in it, is that we consider ourselves sort of a career track program, one that it's sort of developed as a way for people to get an entry-level position after 4 years of school. In the last 10 years since I've been involved, we've tried to also strengthen the curriculum and provide opportunities, research opportunities, so that students that want to move on to the next level academically, master's or PhD, that they are also served well within this program. But we really do care about what happens to you after you're done with your 4 years. And if you join this Facebook page, our NSU SCNAEP, that page has about 200 plus students that are on it now. It's meant to be a student administered Facebook page. It was a page that was originally developed as part of a student chapter of the National Association of Environmental Professionals. That's where the name comes from. That particular student group no longer exists, but the Facebook page remains, and it's a place where people can share information about internship opportunities. They can share information about fast developing job opportunities. You can reach out to alums. There are quite a few people that have graduated from the program and are now employed out there. You can reach out to them for hints as well. And so we're not trying to duplicate what the career services is doing, but this is something that we've had going for a long time. And I think some students have gotten opportunities through this. I think it's important to use all of these services, to use the career service office with Emilio, to use your LinkedIn, your Facebook, to join Epsilon Eta. You know, all of these things help you, and they give you an edge when it comes to getting employment.
So knowing all your resources, you have amazing faculty that are invested in your success, and really starting early, using this time. I know that we're at home, and if you're not doing anything, build yourself up, trainings, knowledge base, networking, put yourself out there, get comfortable with the uncomfortable, because that's going to be a part of life after graduation, is being able to get comfortable with that and be able to put yourself out there and build yourself up. And this is the ideal time to do that. Guys, any other questions?
Yeah, I wanted to say one last thing. I think that's absolutely true. It's going to be difficult, I think, for the next year. That we don't know what the economy is going to look like. We don't know what employers are going to do, but some things are not going to stop. And you know, the environmental laws of the country have to be enforced. And many of you have probably figured out that environmental scientists are involved in property sales, you know, commercial property sales. Those commercial property sales probably will not come to an end just because of this. They'll still need people to investigate property to make sure that it's not contaminated before property transfer is done. And there'll still be research that goes on out there. So you know, try not to get pessimistic. You know, try to keep your spirits up, and you know, there's definitely jobs out there now. There'll be more jobs later when we get into the recovery. So hang in there. This is definitely a good career track to be in if you want to work.
Some great points. Thank you, Dr. Baldo. Guys, is there anything else before we wrap up for the day? Well, again, thank you for having me lead this presentation. If there's ever an interest in doing something again like this, or just another topic, I'm here to help. And again, it's going to be on our YouTube page, NSU Career Development. And I know Madeline's going to send the PowerPoint and everything, but again, I'm here for you guys, especially sending your resume to employers. I'm really an advocate for you and making sure you're in the best position to get an interview and get that job or internship.